All right, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that's very clear from the course of the year 2025 is that the gacha space has not been looking particularly good. You got rampant issues regarding power creep, HP inflation, shield mechanics on new enemies that is bringing a lot of the biggest titles in the space down into the mud when it comes to a player's perception of their quality. I'm thinking about games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, ZZZ, and it's clear that there's one game in particular that's standing out for, well, not fucking ruining every single feature that's in the game, particularly the end game, and that is Wuthering Waves. And so we got this video over here by SmackSan RB, a former ZZZCC who has completely abandoned the game for the issues that I mentioned at the start of the video, and he's come out with this vid, how Wuthering Waves saved the course of Gacha gaming. So why don't we go ahead and see what his take is on the matter and give a little bit of commentary ourselves.
Before Wuthering Waves came out, gacha gaming was in a very, very different place. Almost every new release felt like it was chasing the same formula. Flashy anime visuals, open world exploration, and systems clearly modeled after Hoyoverse's success. And to be quite honest, it's easy to see why. These games brought in revenue, drew in huge player bases, and proved that following the Hoyoverse's formula was a surefire way to succeed in the gacha market.
I mean, let's be real here. Genshin Impact is the most successful, I don't know if it's the most successful game ever, but it's the most successful gacha game ever. I do genuinely think that. You know, having like the COVID buff, people basically looking for their own like virtual world to spend their time because the real world was so bad. That allowed them such a massive opportunity to tap into one of the most untapped markets that's ever existed. And there will probably never be another opportunity for another game to have that level of exposure, simply due to the fact that, well, unless COVID happens again, God forbid, yeah.
But after a while, players started to notice the patterns. The systems felt overly familiar, the same gameplay loops, the same weapon banners, the same character release cycles. Sure, the games were fun, but there was a sense of predictability. Like, developers were hesitant to take risks and experiment beyond what has already been proven successful. Then it came Wuthering Waves in 2024, and while it didn't reinvent the genre completely, it showed that gacha could be more than just a copy and paste of what worked before. It introduced systems that felt more fair, gameplay that felt fresh, and most importantly, a direction that proved the genre could evolve instead of staying stuck in one lane.
I think a lot of people are under this impression that Wuthering Waves is like this carbon copy of Genshin Impact with like better combat and other stuff. I think a lot of people don't fundamentally realize just how different almost every system in Wuthering Waves actually is. It's like, yes, your characters have a skill with a cooldown. Yes, your characters have like ultimate abilities. Yes, they have normal attack chains. But it's just like everything, like with how the combat system works, the swapping, all of that. Yes, you have a team of characters, but you also have a team of characters in a game like fucking Final Fantasy. And the thing is, it's like these characters have movesets and stuff like that. And they just because they have like a skill ultimate, they're saying it's a copy of Genshin's combat. But the thing is, it's just like, oh, does Genshin have dodge feedback? Does Genshin have attacks that follow up on a dodge? Does Genshin have forte? Does Genshin have any of... No. The answer is no. It doesn't have these things. And the end result... Oh, parries. I forgot that shit as well. It's just everything, in terms of the actual gameplay, feels different. And even the exploration feels different. But because you move around, because you can jump, because you can climb, they all just say it's the same. But at the end of the day, you play either of these two games, there's a reason why one makes you feel like you're wading through fucking molasses, and the other just feels like a normal gameplay. The normal one is Wuthering Waves.
Since Wuthering Waves arrived, the gacha space hasn't been the same. Suddenly, developers are taking more risks, experimenting with new systems like Azure Premilia with their unique pet system, innovative unique progression loops like Duet Night Abyss, who's taking a major risk in modeling their grind system after Warframe, and gameplay ideas that feel and look genuinely fresh within Silver Palace that is very foreign to the gacha space. Compared to the predictable releases before, the genre is starting to feel alive again, showing that gacha games can be creative, bold, and more than just copies of what worked in the past.
I think TOF is kind of like the main sort of topic that's being discussed over here. The game that, in all respects, was like much more of a copy of Genshin with some additional features added on. And the whole like multiplayer element as well. But TOF was basically a colossal failure. It still is a complete colossal failure. And the kind of like realization I think from a lot of people was that Well, they didn't want to be the next TOF, and that's why Wuthering Waves, which was kind of like considered one of like the real Genshin successor, released so late. Because I'm pretty sure there were a lot of lessons to learn from the absolute failure that Tower of Fantasy was in all respects. So it's just a lot of these games have been cooking, I think, for a lot longer. A lot of them potentially could have released earlier. But TOF's massive failure was probably like a barrier, made people go back, redevelop some things, and continue to polish the product moving forward.
They can surprise players and push the boundaries of what the genre can be. But before we really dig into this video, if you've been enjoying the content I've been making lately, make sure to subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on any future videos. Now let's really talk about what the gacha scene looked like before Wuthering Waves. At the time, the big names felt untouchable. Genshin Impact, Honkai Impact 3rd, Honkai Star Rail, basically anything with Hoyoverse backing it was dominating the scene.
Honkai Impact 3rd, I wouldn't really call it like a dominating game. It does okay. It does okay, but it's mostly like funded by the profits of Genshin Impact. And mostly funded by the profits of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. It doesn't do that well itself.
Their success created a wave of imitators, with new releases trying to capture the same spark. Open worlds, flashy combat, anime-inspired characters. On the surface, it looked impressive, but once you actually played, the similarities were hard to ignore. The core systems, the progression loops, even the gacha mechanics often felt like carbon copies of what had already been proven successful.
HSR's gacha system is literally just Genshin's, but like slightly better. Instead of having 2 weapons on the weapon banner, you only have 1. It's still a 75-25, except now you don't have a chance of losing to some random piece of shit that you didn't want in the first place.
It was as if everyone was following the same recipe, and while it did work, the sense of originality started to fade.
Yeah, it still had the dumb shit on the standard banner, where you could be going into the standard banner of either Genshin or HSR. You actually want one of the light cones, because getting 5-star weapons in Genshin or Star Rail is literally luck of the draw, the 5-star standard weapons. You could be going for a weapon and then get a character dupe that you don't want. Their standard system was just so bad. You can get so much useless shit in the standard banners of both those games. It's actually awful. Like the range of RNG you can get in Genshin Impact, where you can get a crit rate 5-star weapon, the Skyward Atlas, or the Skyward Harp, or you could get the fucking Amos bow. The usability of those options, Amos bow versus Skyward Harp or Skyward Atlas, is so fucking wide. Getting the Amos bow is like not getting anything at all. It's like your pity literally getting thrown into the fucking garbage with how dog shit that weapon is. And there's so much trash. Like, what are you gonna do with fucking Welt's Light Cone? In Honkai Star Rail, you pull on the standard banner and you get Welt's Light Cone.
We saw this play out over and over again. Games that you may or may not have heard of, like Tower of Fantasy, which, to be fair, it was a pretty big hit and easily could have rivaled Genshin. It had the hype, it had the looks, it had the appeal, but ultimately fell out due to the overall substance. And then there was Noah's Heart, Aether Gazer, and even Grand Saga. These all leaned heavily on the Hoyoverse formula.
And this is how you know that these games didn't really do well, because I don't even know what the Noah's Heart even is. I don't know what the these two are. I know about Aether Gazer. What the hell are these two?
These all leaned heavily on the Hoyoverse formula. Now, some of them added their own twists, but at the core, you could feel they were chasing the same magic that made Genshin, Honkai Impact 3rd, and Star Rail so massive. All their gameplays were very similar, and ultimately, that period from 2020 to 2024, besides Hoyoverse games, the genre felt pretty dull.
You know what? I get his point, because Aether Gazer is very much like trying to be a successor to Honkai Impact 3rd. Okay, I see the point he's trying to bring up there.
Innovation. Where was the risk taking? Most games were playing it safe, banking on the idea that as long as they looked and felt like a Hoyoverse game, people would stick around. And while some of those games did okay, many others burned bright for a few weeks or a few months and then it completely died out.
If your product feels like a slight differentiation on top of an existing game, but it doesn't really feel like it's revolutionized the systems in any other way, they're just gonna be like, why would I just go with like the original product that's doing better? And this is the thing. That's why I think NTE is gonna be a colossal fucking failure. Because it literally just feels like Wuwa with ZZZ's aesthetic with worse combat. Wuthering Waves systems with ZZZ aesthetic design and worse combat. Yeah, I don't know about that one, man.
It was becoming harder and harder to stand out in the space that was so oversaturated with clones. So when Wuthering Waves launched, people weren't sure what to expect. Some thought it would just be another Genshin clone with a fresh coat of paint.
Some people still think it is, and that's the funny part. They're still spreading that misinfo around because, well, they know that Genshin looks like shit now.
Others wrote it off before even trying it, but the moment players actually got their hands on it, it was clear that Wuthering Waves wasn't just following the script, it was rewriting parts of it. The first thing that jumped out to people was its approach to monetization, an 80 pull pity instead of 90. Now, at face value, it doesn't seem like much, but over time it adds up quick.
And when Wuthering Waves regularly gives you 100 something pulls a patch, in Wuthering Waves' history, there have been more patches with 100 plus pulls than patches without 100 plus pulls. I hope you guys understand that. There's been more patches with over 100 pulls than patches under.
Then they have a guaranteed weapon system that felt way less punishing, and early on, plenty of ways for free-to-play players to earn rolls.
This is the Wuthering Waves phenomenon for free-to-play players. As a free-to-play, your goal is to save up around 160, 180 pulls for a new unit. You go in to guarantee the character, right? Because you might lose the 50-50. Let's say you go in, you saved up your 100 whatever pulls, and then you win the 50-50. Awesome. You now take your leftover pulls and then just go to the weapon banner and you know you can guarantee the weapon. And so it's basically, if you win the 50-50 in Wuwa, you get the weapon, you're guaranteed it, you can't lose on the weapon banner. And if you don't win the 50-50, well, you just spend your pulls to acquire the character. That is the Wuwa system. And so, like, as a free-to-play, you're like, you feel giga rewarded for, like, let's just be honest here, getting lucky on the 50-50, because now it's like you feel like you got the weapon for free. And that's like a good sort of like feedback loop. That's a good sort of feedback loop. Obviously, if you lose every single one, that sucks dick, but chances are that's just not going to happen. You just don't get that in other games. You win the 50-50 and you sometimes just don't pull the weapon banner because, well, what if you fucking lose? In Genshin, your fate point disappears. Goodbye. You spent those 90 pulls, you didn't get the right weapon, spend 90 more, or else this pity that you just got is worthless. Just like Arknight's Enfield, just so you guys know. I don't know why people keep glazing that fucking dog shit gacha system where you can have 119 pulls disappear into thin fucking air. That's just me. And then you got Honkai Star Rail, where you can just lose the 75-25, or ZZZ, you lose the 75-25. And then you're just like, okay, great. Well, now I'm starting from zero, and I don't really have what I want.
Even to this day, the current 2.6 patch is giving around 110 pulls for free-to-play players.
Yes. A random 2.6 patch is giving you out 110 fucking pulls.
It's one of the most free-to-play friendly games we have in the market. Now, all of this sounds simple, but those changes mattered. For free-to-play players, it meant progress felt achievable without spending a dime. For spenders, it meant that putting money in actually felt like you were getting something back.
I just wonder, what does it feel like being free-to-play in Zenless Zone Zero? The game that has, like, inflated HP by 200% in, like, 4 updates. Like, you probably feel like you're getting close to, like, clearing Shiyu Defense or Deadly Assault, and then, like, you'll get, like, a 2-minute clear. You'll get like a 6-minute clear, right, in Shiyu Defense. You need 5 minutes for an S. You think you're close. Then they HP inflate you. Everything else stays the same. And now your 6-minute clear is like a 6-minute 30-second clear. Like, it's just like a treadmill, right? Where it's like, the HP just like inflates more and more and more. And so you just keep like fucking grinding. You just keep, like, grinding to, like, try to get better ties, but then the HP just, like, keeps going higher, so your ties keep getting worse. And then you don't have enough pulls to pull all the new broken shit that, like, is obviously designed to counter the HP inflation because the kits are broken. It must suck.
Instead of gambling endlessly with no guarantee. And it didn't stop there. Wuthering Waves combat is fast, fluid, and combo heavy, offering something that stood apart from the slower, more methodical gameplay of other gacha titles. Its characters' kits felt unique, and there was more reason to experiment with different playstyles. It wasn't just about pulling characters, it was about actually enjoying them. That balance between fair systems and engaging gameplay is what set Wuthering Waves apart.
When you buy a character or you pull a character in Wuwa, you feel like you're getting quite a bit out of them. That'll be my take. You feel like you're getting a very, very large moveset. I talked about it before. People call Wuwa a Genshin clone. In Genshin, you know Flynn's, the newest DPS, the Electro DPS that came out, right? Flynn's has 2 abilities. He has a normal attack chain and his Resonance Liberation. Flynn's literally has 2 abilities. His elemental skill makes his normal attacks purple. His second elemental skill just casts his Liberation. And then his Liberation just casts a big version of his Liberation. Bro actually has 2 attacks. He has 2 moves. And then, like, his skill just activates one of those 2 moves. What? You would already assume that having only 3 abilities was already, like, kind of not a lot. That was too much. They couldn't design Flynn's an actual resonance skill. They made it so his resonance skill just activated his other 2 fucking abilities. And people were glazing that dude's kit. Why are you glazing that shit?
It wasn't perfect, but it was different. And in a genre that had gotten so predictable, that difference was everything. And here's where things get interesting. Wuthering Waves didn't just shake up its own community, it forced the entire industry to take a step back and think. Players immediately started comparing it to other gachas. Why were they forcing a 90 pull pity when Wuthering Waves showed you could do 80? Why were weapon banners still such a painful money sink when guarantees were possible? And most importantly, why weren't more games actually respecting players' time?
That was the type of conversation that should be occurring, but instead, you have retarded, toxic, positive Hoyo community members telling you, stop comparing! Please! Please stop comparing right now! I need you to stop it! Stop pointing out how bad Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and ZZZ are. Stop pointing out how good Wuthering... You're just comparing because Wuthering Waves is a worse game! You need to stop! And that's where the term comparing waves came from, ladies and gentlemen. That's where the term comparing waves came from, because these Hoyoverse players mentally cannot handle the idea that their devs are greedy rat bastards and will put in the most predatory fucking shit possible and never ever try to improve them. And when you make a comparison, their brain literally short circuits and they immediately just say comparison is bad. When comparison is literally the root of competition, and competition is how things get better. It's really just that simple, but that logical flow has short-circuited their tiny brains.
Kind of conversation hadn't been happening at this scale before. Sure, players always complained, but Wuwa proved that these systems could change without destroying a game's business model. Developers started to realize that generosity and profitability weren't opposites, and that trust could actually keep players around longer than stingy systems ever could.
There's a reason why Hoyo has really started like this fake listening sort of trend. Where like Hoyo has started like patting themselves on the back a lot more during like live streams, dev talks, saying that they're listening, saying that they're going through trouble, saying that they're putting in so much effort and work, stuff that they haven't done before. They're like cosplaying devs who give a fuck. Like they're actually like they're fucking skinwalkers pretending to be people that give a shit about the community. And then like they say all these things on camera. And then you see what's in the game.
He's a boring old man. I don't like going to his classes.
Excuse me. You shouldn't talk about your teacher like that.
Then they give you this shit.
Don't let a single one of them get away!
No, please spare the children. Stay back.
They're coming!
Run! Help!
How do they say with a straight face that the production costs of this game are going up? And then do this.
That ripple effect is already visible. New gacha titles coming out are now experimenting with lower pity counts, softer monetization models, and more unique gameplay systems. Even existing games have had to start offering better value, more frequent freebies, or rework banners just to keep up with the rising standard.
You want to know when Genshin started giving out its free standard 5-star? It started with Natlan, right? Genshin started giving out, for its anniversary, a free standard 5-star. They didn't do that for any of their anniversaries prior. And what was right before the Natlan anniversary? Wuthering Waves released. It's a literal fact that Genshin Impact only started giving out free 5 stars for their anniversary after WoWa released. It is a confirmed fact. They did not do it before Wuthering Waves released. And you'll still have Hoyo shills to this day telling you.
Actually, Hoyoverse was planning only on their 4th year. They were gonna give out the standard 5-star anyways. Wuthering Waves has nothing to do with it.
They're still saying that to this day, that Wuthering Waves was not involved at all. And that Hoyoverse had planned all of this several years in advance. That's how much they hate the idea of there being a better game than Genshin.
Bigger picture here is that Wuthering Waves helped prove the gacha space doesn't have to be a one-trick pony. For too long, the genre was stuck on copycats of Hoyoverse. But now, developers are realizing that there's room to innovate. We're seeing games leaning to different settings, different art styles, and different progression systems. More importantly, the conversation has shifted. It's not just about who can drain the most money from its players in the shortest amount of time. It's about who can build a sustainable long-term game that people actually want to stick with.
On the topic of draining players for all the money that they have, that is literally what Hoyoverse is doing right now. Yeah, HP inflation, power creep, broken kits, every character doing more damage than the last one. That is a sign of a game that is in cash cow mode. We're no longer trying to get new players joining the IP. We just want to milk everybody that's still with us for as much as we possibly can before they quit and they go play a better game. That is the strategy in all of the Hoyoverse titles currently. Get them to spend as much as possible before they jump ship because our product is trash.
Towards diversity and consumer friendliness isn't just good for the players, it's good for the entire industry. It means healthier competition, better games, and less burnout. So did Wuthering Waves single-handedly save the gacha industry?
I think competitors seeing that a game can see some level of success without directly copying Hoyo's monetization essentially gave them the green light that they could experiment as well. They can try out things, right? They can try out things like no 50-50. They can do the Duet Night Abyss approach. They can try out the Wuwa guaranteed weapon approach and still be a game that won't EOS. While before, right? I don't think NTE launches. I don't think NTE launches with no 50-50 without Wuwa. I don't think Duet Night Abyss launches with no gacha without Wuwa. I don't think half of these innovations that we're celebrating in the space, I don't think that there's something that we would have been able to talk about if Wuwa wasn't there to pave the way. Because, yes, people critique Wuwa's 50-50 all the time. That's probably because they didn't want to reinvent the wheel too much. That's why they have dupes in the shop. That's why they have guaranteed weapon banner. That's why they have a lower pity and more average pulls. Because they didn't want to reinvent the wheel too much, but they made concessions, they made changes where it counts.
Wuthering Waves single-handedly saved the gacha industry, but it did prove something really important, that gacha can evolve, that these games can respect your time, offer fair monetization, and still be widely successful. If we take a step back, we can clearly see that Wuthering Waves is currently the best gacha game out right now, and it's not luck. It took all of these things to get the game to where it is today. It set a new standard, it showed both players and developers that the old model doesn't have to be only one way, and in doing that, Wuthering Waves didn't just succeed on its own terms, it helped shift the course of the entire genre. And honestly, if more games follow that lead, the future of gacha is going to look a whole lot brighter than its past.
This is the phase that gacha is currently in right now. I think this is a big turning point for gacha. Hoyoverse is currently exterminating every single IP that they have, burning the goodwill of their players like it's fucking American flags at protests. People are just waiting for the next fucking game that comes out. Everyone is hyped for what's coming in 2026, what's coming in the latter half of 2025. And the thing is, it's just all of you, you look at Honkai Star Rail. This is all the proof you need to see, guys. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Honkai. They're giving out a free fucking character. They're giving out a free 5-star, but nobody gives a shit. Because the game's fucking bad. The live stream may be unquit. He might see the views on this one and go quit again. What can I say, man? What can we say? Then we got ZZZ as well. That game is also cooked on this platform. It's a dark time for Hoyoverse games. And the hype for Nod-Krai is almost non-existent too. The hype for fucking Nod-Krai is dying like crazy as well.
It'll definitely be a great sight to see when these upcoming games come out and continue to further evolve the space. Because let's be real here. Sure, Hoyoverse was the first to give the gacha scene a major leap in evolution, but they also kept us stagnant for quite a while too. And let's keep it a buck here. If it wasn't for Wuthering Waves giving it direct competition, who knows where the gacha scene would be today.
I think Wuthering Waves was a double-edged sword for Hoyoverse players. Wuthering Waves led to more quality of life, led to more new features, led to free standard 5 stars and all of that shit. But I think Wuthering Waves is also the exact reason why Hoyoverse started killing their games. I think that if Wuthering Waves never released, there wouldn't be as much power creep in HSR, Genshin, or ZZZ. But because Wuthering Waves is there, I think Hoyo literally went into desperation mode, saw how inferior their product was as a whole, and realized that in a very short amount of time, people are going to be leaving their games in fucking droves. Otherwise, it doesn't explain why they're in full fucking money grubbing, power creep, HP inflating fucking fiesta mode right now. Why? They had a good thing going. They were doing just fine in Genshin with little power creep for over 4 years, yet after Wuwa releases, they have the most power creep in the game in a 2-month span of time than they've seen in 4 years. They released Mava Weekend Sitlali, characters that when combined do 90 to 100k teen DPS, and every other DPS before them was doing 60k. They went from 60 to 90k, a 50% increase with the release of 2 characters in one patch. They raised the damage ceiling of the game by 50%. Why?
All that I know is competition breeds innovation, and with studios like Kuro Games stepping up, it's finally forcing the big players to rethink their approach. Whether you're loyal to Hoyoverse or a fellow Kurobot, or maybe you're just here for the ride, one thing's clear, the gacha space is changing, so here's to more risks, better content, and finally breaking the cycle of playing it safe.
Hoyoverse is currently trying to drive gacha into the fucking floor. They're trying to normalize this pay-to-win bullshit across every single game. The only hope that I have is that all these new developers coming in, releasing their titles in late 2025, 2026, and beyond, they don't get influenced by the awful fucking monetary practices of this Hoyoverse company and use that to influence how they're developing their currently in-progress games. If any of these devs are like modeling their gameplay balance, HP progression, account progression after Hoyo's current model, they deserve to immediately fail. They deserve an immediate fucking just like exorcism out of the community. Because, oh wow, it's just those games, ZZZ, HSR, and Genshin market themselves as free-to-play games. They are not free to play. They are free to play for the story. But any other game mode outside of like story and exploration, you have to pay to have any chance of actually experiencing them properly. Because the devs have decided to make it that way. And they decided to make it that way 9 months ago, in December of last year. On a dime, they decided we're going to ruin all of our games. We're just going to ruin every single game that we have. Why they did it, I don't know. Oh, right, it's Wuwa. It's actual real competition. They saw how dog shit their game is, so they desperately need to make as much money as possible.
Future's looking interesting, and honestly, it's about damn time. And the bar's just higher now. Players have seen what's actually possible when devs put in the effort. Whether it's gameplay depth, world building, or just respecting our time, that old bare minimum Hoyoverse approach, it doesn't really fly anymore. We're past that point of getting hyped over the same recycled systems with a fresh coat of paint. If devs want our attention, and more importantly our time and money, they gotta step it up a bit. Doesn't mean everything needs to be groundbreaking, but at the very least, it should feel like they care. And honestly, that's not asking for much. But to wrap this video up, I raise this question to you folks. Do you think Wuthering Waves had this much of an impact on the gacha scene? Or do you think the current state would be the same without Wuthering Waves even existing at all?
Wuthering Waves, like I said before, it both saved and ruined gacha. Without Wuwa, I think Hoyoverse doesn't descend into fucking madness. I think Hoyoverse keeps up the status quo without Wuwa and doesn't have as much power creep or bullshit in their games. And now that Wuwa's come in, they're going into overdrive on all those different situations. But in a similar vein, because Wuwa was so successful, other games are beginning to realize they don't have to be as dog shit as Hoyoverse to find a level of success. And so, really, the narrative actually is all these new games coming out have to be the ones that essentially steal market share from Genshin, that take all those easily disgruntled players who are getting milked like fucking cows and then convert them over to their title. And the thing is, right, it's only going to be a couple of games that really heavily capitalize on this dynamic. There's going to be some games that EOS, because they don't get picked up, even if they had a lot of potential, because the space is going to get really saturated really soon. So it's really all about the game launching, but then the next couple of months after the game launches, how do the devs respond? Do the devs listen? Are the devs like Kuro devs, or are the devs like Hoyo devs? Because I know one thing for certain, a new game launches and they act like Hoyo devs, the community, the game might be okay, but the community might just quit because they fucking hate how the devs are acting. And if we get to a point where the players have that level of influence, they're willing to quit a game because the devs are annoying the fuck out of them, then the space will actually be healed. But we'll just have to see. I'm very excited to see how it develops, though. We will be at the forefront of this great revolution. And we'll see how the cookie crumbles.
Well, let me know in the comment section down below. I always love making these discussion-based videos because no matter if I'm getting hate in the comments or if I'm getting some really thought-provoking comments, at the end of the day, I just really like interacting with you all. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you like this video, I'm more than confident you'll like either one of these videos on screen.
Damn, bro's milking those 8 minutes. Anyways, awesome video by Smack Sand. I tell you, this bro is pumping out some banger fucking content recently. I love these fucking videos. So yeah, keep it going. Love to see the conversion. Let's get some of the views on this bad boy up. Maybe could have used a different title or something like that. We'll see. We'll see how ours does. That'll be that for this one, ladies and gents. Another great video. Make sure you sub to this guy if you want to see more of that shit. I'll see you all later. Peace.